Real Estate Investment Solution. I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. And it is Friday the 13th. Triska tapophobia, I think that's what they call it.
That's fear of Friday the 13th. Huh?
Fear of Friday the 13th. You know, go figure. 13, I think last month had 13 in it as well. And 13 is kind of a lucky number here for the folks here in Arizona because we had a great basketball player that wore the number 13 by the name of Steve Nash. So much for the fear of the number 13. But it's hard to believe we're almost halfway through the month of January. It is 2017, and we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, Health Futures is the name of our show, and the show is about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And how do we do that? We do that by bringing incredible guests to the show that bring meaningful content to the material that we actually cover. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and my family owns a home care agency. And our home care agency in April will be beginning our 24th year. And what we do is we enable our older adult population, for those that can, to be able to stay at home and age in place. We do that by hiring extraordinary caregivers. And I want to pause for a moment and just make this appeal to the audience. We're looking for caregivers. This is a great time of year where, people that are looking for meaningful work, jobs with purpose, agencies, employer-based agencies like HomeCare are looking for you. So whether it's you listening in today or it's a family member, friend, or neighbor that has that caring, compassionate side of them, have them call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. We have extraordinary clients that are wanting to be able to age successfully in place. So, as I said at the top, our show is able to exist because we bring incredible content to the show. So today is no different. I have two gentlemen in the studio. I've got one more person that will be joining us as we go on with our show. Both have been on our show before, and both have contributed multiple times to the meaningful content that we deliver here on Health Futures. So just to my right is Steve Jennings. Steve Jennings is the Associate Director, State Director for the AARP. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks, Bob. Great to be here, as usual.
It's great to have you here, and I don't want to steal your thunder. You've got some news that you're going to break for us, so I want you to break that in a second.
Looking forward to it.
But the guy to your right, my left, is a repeat guest. It's John Scott Williams. He's the Executive Director at Fellowship Square in Mesa, Arizona. I know you have great terminology. What do you say about Mesa?
I'm at Power Road and Main Street. That's where God kisses the valley. Good morning.
There you go. That's where
we
God.
love that. We love being out there. We love being close to the superstitions.
And you know what? I love having both of you on the show because you both bring some great information as relates to our older adult population. You run a community, and you've been at Fellowship Square for how long now, John Scott?
Right now, I'm entering my 30th year.
Your 30th year. Amazing. And it's where God kisses the
valley good morning.
Good morning. But, the thing that I love about what you've done, John Scott, and we've talked about it on the show before, we may talk a little bit about it today, is that you've embraced innovations, you've embraced change, and man, oh man, while we're celebrating our 24th year in 30 years, you've seen a lot of change.
Tremendous change, and a lot of buy-in from the public, and a lot of efforts in order to keep people at home.
Well, you know what, and that's the main key here, and that's something that we've talked about here on our show, and I talk about it all the time. You know, when people call for home care services, first of all, I want to share with our listening audience, I disappoint at least 50% of the people that call, and it's sad because I disappoint them because they think that this is a benefit that Medicare pays for. And if it's not a benefit that Medicare pays for, I'm sure my Medicare Advantage plan or my managed care company pays for this service too. And unfortunately, it does not. And then invariably, the conversation goes on where they tell me about their loved one that is ailing. And I always talk about not so much the person that is suffering, if you would, that is challenged, but I talk about the spouse, the one that is there caring for that individual. And it's a great segue into talking about some of the things that I want Steve to share with us. And that is, the family caregiver is really, truly the unsung hero. And every November we celebrate, and we talk about it here on our show, it's those unsung heroes that are making the ultimate sacrifice. And they give up their way of life, and they give up the things that they do, and they care for their loved ones. And this greatest generation, the generation that we're caring for now, the ones that were born in the 20s and 30s, they are the ones that, really took that oath when they got married in sickness and health. They took it literally, and they don't usually want any help. They think that they can do it and go at it alone. And, those people are making the ultimate sacrifice, and if it's not the spouse, it's the adult children that give up their jobs to be there to help enable their loved one to be able to maintain an existence at home.
It happens so often, and because of lack of education, lack of knowledge, and just the desire, not understanding what is available, a lot of people, and the numbers are outstanding, is 65% of the adult caregivers predecease the person they're caring for.
Wow.
Because it never stops, it never ends. And that cycle of depression that comes with it, you get isolated from the community, you're isolated from your friends, because everything is to take care of the person you never want to leave their home.
And, I want you to repeat that fact. It's 65% of those individuals that are caring for a loved one predecease the one that needs the care.
That's correct.
And that's because they're suffering from either physical or emotional stress that comes along with caregiving.
Both. They don't get to sleep. You're worried about what your loved one is going through, their pain and agony. They become more dependent every day. It's not a acute where a person has a temporary problem. This is chronic, and it'll go on for oftentimes years. 2 or 3 years without a good night's sleep, you cannot think. You cannot eat well because you're preparing meals as quick as you can for the other party. And the kitchen is a dangerous place because there's hot things there. Depending on the condition of your loved one, they can't be around hot things. So you go to cans, you go to purchase things, and your nutrition goes down, their nutrition goes down, because you don't know how to take care of the loved one properly.
It's great information, and you talk about the kitchen being dangerous. So is the bathroom.
Oh.
And you know what? I just talked to a gentleman who is he and his wife are very good friends with my mom, my stepmom and my dad, and he has been caring for his wife for some time, and she's gotten to the point where she's in the hospital right now. But prior to going to the hospital, he was telling me he was assisting her with a shower, and never in his life has he ever done that before. And he was telling me how tricky it is, and I just said, listen. I said, anytime you mix soap and water and skin, it's a recipe for disaster. We kind of set the table for our second segment because we're coming close to finishing up our first. And I want to just say this, for our listening audience that's listening in, if you know of somebody that is doing the labor of love, who's making that ultimate sacrifice, and you see that, don't ask to help. Please offer or do help. I mean, assist with maybe meal planning and getting meals. assist with maybe helping drive to the doctors, assist with just companionship while that person who's doing that ultimate sacrifice gets what we refer to as respite and goes and takes care of themselves.
Excellent.
They need to do that. I mean, it's a real travesty in what's going on, but you know what, AARP and Heather Carter, who is the Arizona Legislature House Health and Human Services Chair, is going to be on in our second segment. We're going to talk about some of the things that they are doing here in the state of Arizona, which is really exciting to help those family caregivers that are making that ultimate sacrifice. You're listening to Health Futures. We're coming at you live here January 13th from the Money Radio Studios here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We'll be right back.
Generation living benefit riders on annuities and life insurance are changing the game in financial planning and resource allocation. But there are major differences among products. Get informed on the Financial Review as I sit down with best-selling author and retirement strategist Steve Jurich to learn the fundamentals and make the key comparisons. Join us Mondays and Thursdays at 4:35 p.m. right here on Money Radio.
The Best After 50 Expo in the East Valley is coming soon. The Area Agency on Aging presents the 29th Annual Mesa Love and Life After 50 Expo. Over 70 exhibitors will be featured in a fun and informational day on Wednesday, January 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Mesa Convention Center. If you're over 50, this is the premier event you don't want to miss. The day's events and parking are free and include entertainment by the popular Duttons. The Miss Senior Arizona Ladies will greet you at the door. Hourly drawings will be held for door prizes, including $100 cash at 10, 11, and 12. Come see what new products and services are available for seniors in the East Valley. Bring your friends and family January 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Mesa Convention Center. Sponsors include the Area Agency on Aging, CapTel, and Sunland HomeCare. For more information, go to seniorexpos.com. That's seniorexpos.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents a story about pickles.
It's 2 a.m. and your pregnant wife needs pickles. So you pick up some green happiness, but hit a parked car. Great, something else to worry about. Luckily, Liberty Mutual Insurance has 24/7 claims assistance, so you can take care of your claim right away. Problem solved. Now, if only you bought the right pickles.
Visit a local office or call 844-8-LIBERTY. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company.
Everyone craves the comfort of a good night's sleep. That's why Certa Perfect Sleeper Mattress helps solve 5 common sleep problems. You'll be so comfortable, you'll never count sheep again.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and my engineer, James, brought us in with a little Bruce Springsteen, so thank you. Happy Friday. Friday the 13th, we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park, and if you're just tuning in for the very first time, Health Futures is a show about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And how are we able to do that? We're able to do that by bringing extraordinary guests. We're in our second segment, and I have in the audience here with me, I've got the Associate State Director from AARP, Steve Jennings.
Good to be here.
It's good to have you. I've got John Scott Williams. He's the Executive Director with Fellowship Square in Mesa. It's where God kisses
the valley good morning.
Good morning. And he's been out there for 30 years. And just to his right, my left, is Heather Carter. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Great to be here.
Heather's part of our Arizona legislature. She's one of the House of Representatives, and she is head of our Health and Human Services Committee.
Yes,
Chair.
Sir. Chair.
And you've been an incredible ally to HomeCare, so I want to thank you so much for being here today, being an ally for HomeCare, but also I want to break news here today about what you're doing with AARP and this bill that I got a chance to read about earlier.
Hey, you
this
know,
week.
Bob, you may not know, but from AARP's perspective, we think Representative Carter does great work. In fact, we're giving her a Capital Caregivers Award next week, and for some of the work she's done in the past at making physician services more available to Arizonans. So we're very appreciative of her work.
Well, you know what? She's gotten
Thank you.
she's gotten a lot of awards. She also got the Fearless Caregiver Award, which was awarded to her by the Arizona Caregiver Coalition, and she's part of the Arizona Alzheimer's Task Force. So, I mean, the older adult population stuff resonates with her, and I will tell you, Representative Carter gets it. And it's so good to have you here on the show. And, you know, when we kicked off the first segment here, we talked about the family caregiver, and we talked about the ultimate sacrifice that they make. And John Scott brought up an interesting fact, that is when older adults, and I'm talking about those 65 and older, caring for one another, 65% of the time the caregiver predeceases the care recipient. And that is a daunting fact, and that's because of that stress that they undergo. And, you know, before we talk about this bill, one of the great things that our state does with our Medicaid program is we've got this thing called a Medicaid waiver program, which affords and allows families to employ family members to receive care. So, you know, there's no better solution, and I talk about it at Cypress all the time. If family members can make that sacrifice, and I'm talking about adult children, I'm talking about spouses, nieces, nephews that can help care for a loved one, that is utopia. But not all the time that happens. But under the Medicaid program, those people that have to give up their job, they can get paid for it, which is incredible.
It's an excellent benefit. It's an excellent idea, and it much less cost than if it was someone else, someplace else.
And plus, who knows that family member better than that family member themselves? They're most comfortable with that individual.
Even in my for-profit or in my assisted living setting, I don't charge the family members when they come in, especially the spouse, because the spouse knows exactly what their loved one wants, and it's much better than having a caregiver try to figure it out.
Right.
If I charged them, I noticed they started eating the meal in their room, which then meant they were rationing and they were sharing the food. No good benefit there. So
no.
I said, you need the socialization. So not charging allows them to benefit in a good way.
Socialization is so important.
Yes.
And that's something that, you know, we have as a community a problem. I mean, the mere fact, and we've talked about it on the show, 1/3 of our population, 65 and older, is living home alone. And many of them have challenges with transportation, so they exist at home alone. And socialization is something that it's something that we as human beings, we crave, we need. I had Dr. Ed Perrin, who's a geriatrician here. I had him on the show over 3 years ago. It's hard to believe we're in our 4th year. And one of the things that Dr. Ed Perrin said is that babies get touched over 100 times a day. It's incredible. Human touch is so important for what we do. But he also said that we have older adults that could go an entire month without having been touched. We crave that hand-holding, a hug. I mean, whenever I go to visit a client or a prospective client or someone that, you know, I know, I ask for permission. I say, can I give you a hug? And I'm telling you, they squeeze the guts out of me because they miss that. They love that. And we as human beings crave that, and we need that.
Absolutely.
So, great segue. Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you. You know, AARP and Representative Heather Carter is sponsoring a bill that is being introduced to the Arizona legislature, and I think everyone knows that we're in our – what session are we in, Representative Carter?
53rd.
53rd session, so bills are being introduced left and right, and this is one that hits me near and dear to my heart. And I think everyone here in this room, and I'm hoping that many of our listeners here today are appreciating what this bill is all about.
Yeah, and if I could just frame it just a little bit more,
Please do.
you know, there have been a number, you know, nationally, there's academic interest in this huge number of people that are caregiving older people, and in Arizona, the studies have shown that around 800,000, actually the number is 804,000, people spend an hour or more a week taking care of an older person. Wow. And that's a lot of people. That's 1 in every 8 Arizonans is being a caregiver. And if you think about it, that's kind of a wonderful thing, that families are taking care of their own and they're doing the best they can. In fact, at ARP, we like to call that the silent army of love that goes to work every morning, 24/7, 65. You don't hear them, you don't see them, but they're out there doing it. And there's so many negative things we hear about things today, but there's a lot of wonderful things going on at the same time, and that's one of them. And that's what the bill is sort of an approach to. This is, if you think about this, 800,000 people, that's really the network that helps older people. It's larger than this government network that provides services. And how can you help that group do that longer? As John was talking about, caregiving 24/7, 365 is a heck of a burden. It wears you out. And once your spouse is worn out, or others, if they predecease you, who's going to take care of you? So how can you help those individuals? And one way to do it is to remove some of the financial burden they face. Studies have shown the average family caregiver spends about $7,000 out of their own pocket each year to care for their loved one. That's a lot of money.
It is.
And so this proposal is that there be a tax credit of up to $1,000 a year for qualifying expenses, half of your expenses up to $1,000 a year that you spend on taking care of that person to at least help with some of this $7,000. And Representative Carter has brought it to a bill when we talked with her about it.
It's interesting is, there are things that we can do as a community, and introducing policy is something that we can do. We can come together and work with our local government to do that. I've talked about it here on the show, and I think everyone here in the room understands this. We've talked about these baby boomers that are turning 65. It's an 18-year period. Everyone that was born from 1946 to 1964. We're only 5 years into it. So we got another 13 more years. We've got to do something to help care for these individuals. We can't build enough communities. We know that. That's prohibitive. So what's the way to do it?
Nationwide, 10,000 a day.
10,000
turning
a day.
65.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to introduce some policy. We need to be able to have family members afford that opportunity to give up maybe their earnings that they do every day to be able to care for that loved one.
Yeah, strengthen the family's ability to care for their own. That's the cheapest thing all the way around. And it also lets older folks remain in the homes that were their family homes, where they raised their children, where the kids' pictures are on the wall, where people want to be. They don't want to move if they don't have to, and if families can help with that, then that's good. And if we can help families a little bit one way or another, then that's how we should do it.
We should, and families should be helping family. We're getting ready to end our second segment, and I want to introduce Representative Heather Carter. And Representative Carter, you are a caregiver.
Yes, I am.
Matter of fact, we all have been a caregiver. There are 4 types of caregivers. If our listening audience isn't aware of it, it's those that have been caregivers, those that are currently caregivers, those that will be caregivers, and guess what? Those of us that will need care. So, there's a profession that's never going to leave us, and we're going to be in one of those spots or all 4 of those spots at some point in time in our life. And I just commend you, and I'm looking at you, Steve, and I'm looking at you, Representative Carter, for taking this initiative to really help solve this problem. We're at halftime. Halftime here at Health Futures. We're going to hear a little bit more from Representative Carter in our third segment. You're listening to Health Futures. We will be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
The U.S. Department of Justice is indicting 3 Takata Corporation executives over dangerous airbags. The Japanese executives are accused of falsifying reports on faulty airbag inflators. Takata airbag explosions have been linked to at least 16 deaths. DOJ also concluding that Chicago police have been violating the rights of some city residents. Attorney General Loretta Lynch releasing a report in the Windy City.
The people of this city have recognized that there is work to be done, and they've committed themselves to seeing that work through to the end. And the Department of Justice will stand beside you along the way.
Chicago and the department have agreed on a plan to reform the police department. On Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives is debating a special budget bill designed to make repealing Obamacare possible. Speaker Paul Ryan.
This provides Congress with the legislative tools that we need to repeal and replace Obamacare. This is a critical first step toward delivering relief to Americans who are struggling under this law.
I'm Michael Toscano.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-329-4100. That's 1-800-329-4100. 1-800-329-4100. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Listening to the great news and advice from Money Radio is easier than ever with many choices. Log on to MoneyRadio1510.com to find all the options.
Join certified financial planner Nancy Fleming this and every Wednesday afternoon as she joins me for Financial Review. Nancy and I discuss an array of topics from Social Security, taxes, to what types of obstacles you can and will face in retirement. So join Nancy every Wednesday afternoon at 4:35 for the Financial Review. Want more, Nancy? Be sure to tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for My Smart Retirement, right here on Money Radio.
Have you reached a level of financial success that requires more than simple investment options such as stocks, mutual funds, and insurance? Register for the 5th Annual Caliber Summit at calibersummit.com. This once-per-year event will give you access to over 30 world-class experts in real estate private equity, alternative investment strategies, and finding the best options available for accredited investors. Learn how endowments and institutions have already achieved substantial, non-correlated returns and consistently beat the market. Find out how at calibersummit.com. Seating is limited. Register now at calibersummit.com. Don't forget to use the Money Radio listeners code of Money 2017 for your discounted access. Once again, that code is Money 2017. Don't miss your one-time opportunity to gain access to the world of alternative options you should be invested in. CaliberSummit.com. Discount code Money 2017. Special thanks to our sponsors Stewart Title, Bennett & Porter, and Hevlin Management Company.
So our team just started using GoToMeeting to web conference, and it's been surprising. Well, guys, our company is growing fast. I'm thinking we should
expand overseas.
2 weeks later, it happened again.
It looks like our distributors in France can't keep up with demand. The team should look at moving into Asia.
But now our team connects a little too well.
It's great we're opening a new location in Osaka. Konnichiwa, Japan.
When you connect better, everything comes together. GoToMeeting. Try it free at GoToMeeting.com.
Beauty Rest Black is more than a mattress. It's a haven for deep, restorative sleep. With Beauty Rest Black, sleep truly is the ultimate luxury. Tonight, dream in black.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. Another corporate earnings period got underway today, and for the first time in a long time, Alcoa was not the first major company to report quarterly results. The aluminum giant said it would stop being first out of the gate after it split its operations into two separate companies. So J.P. Morgan Chase & Company got the honor. The big bank said its fourth quarter profit rose 24% to $6.7 billion, leading to a record year for earnings. Results topped expectations as revenue was up a better than expected 2.1%. J.P. Morgan shares are up just a fraction today. The broader market remains mixed in afternoon trading, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 26 points. The Nasdaq Composite is up 27 and the S&P 500 is up 2 points. Crude oil prices are trading down more than 1%. That's Your Money Now.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $28 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-244-6060. That's 1-800-244-6060. 1-800-244-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, and I'm your host, Bob Roth. And we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. It is Friday the 13th. And, Steve, what is it?
John?
Triskaidekaphobia or something like that. The fear of the number 13.
It's about 26 different syllables.
It is. It's about 26 different syllables, but there's nothing to fear in the number 13. And we're all good here. I've got, if you're just tuning in, we're in our third segment. I've got Steve Jennings, who is the Associate Director for AARP. I have got the Associate State Director, and I've got John Scott Williams. He is the Executive Director from Fellowship Square, and it's where God kisses the
Valley Good Morning.
Valley Good Morning. 30-year veteran in this Fellowship Square.
Of affordable, truly affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Yeah. It's a beautiful community.
Yeah, no buy-ins, and we take care of the large 30% of the population. But at a very high level. Nothing to apologize for.
No, nothing to apologize. A beautiful community. And just to John Scott's right, my left, is Representative Heather Carter, and she's from the Arizona Legislature, and she is head of the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. And as I shared when I introduced her, she is a really great ally to the older adult population, winning many awards. Too many to mention, but been an ally of mine when we were trying to get home care legislation, and it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and I do have to say that all of the work that we do down in the legislature requires a team effort, so I just want to say thank you to everyone here today and those listening at home. You enable me to do great work at the Capitol, and I just want to say thank you for your tireless support and energy and time there advocating for all the citizens of Arizona.
Well, thank you, and I want to really segue this because we keep talking about this bill. What's the bill number, Steve?
Hey,
House Bill 2209.
There you go.
House Bill 2209. Right. And we've been talking about family caregivers, and they truly are the unsung heroes. They're the ones that make the ultimate sacrifice in caring for a loved one. And at Cypress Home Care Solutions, we always talk about families and family caregivers. And when somebody calls about a challenge that they're dealing with a loved one, oftentimes we do find out the information, the medical condition, whatever emotional or physical challenges that they're having, but then we ask about the spouse, and we say, so what's going on with your dad or with your mom or your aunt or uncle, grandma, grandfather? And they want to go back to the person that they have called about, and that's the person we worry about. John Scott brought it up in our first segment. 65% of the time when we have older adults, those that are 65 and older caring for one another, the caregiver predeceases the care recipient. And we as a community need to come together. And speaking about our community, speaking about our village, Representative Carter and AARP are really forging forward with this bill, and I would love you, Steve, and certainly you, Representative Carter, who I know you have a passion to be on the radio, so I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about this bill and where do you see this thing going? What do we need to do as a community, as a village, and what do I need to do at Cypress to help get this thing through and get it heard and get it passed?
Well, the first thing we need everybody to do is to contact their local elected officials. So we just came through an election cycle. There are a number of new, what we would call freshman legislators elected to both the Arizona House of Representatives and new members of the Senate. Many of the members of the Senate were former representatives, but a lot of people in the Arizona House of Representatives are brand new to the process. And so this would be a perfect time, if I may be so bold as to assign homework on your radio show,
yes,
is to look up who your elected officials are in the Arizona House of Representatives, because that's where the bill will start. And so that's very easy to do. You can go online to azleg.gov, G-O-V, and you can click on a link that is right there on the homepage that will allow you to find your elected officials. And from there, if you would send them a quick note and introduce yourself and just perhaps share a personal story that perhaps maybe you are providing home health care to one of your loved ones. And then if you are in favor of House Bill 2209, you could send them a note to say, please, I ask for your support for House Bill 2209, and provide your contact information, and they would potentially reach out to you and ask more about what is happening in your home and how they can be of help.
I love it.
That's right. That's what we at AARP tell people to do. And when you call down there and identify your legislator, you'll get the secretary of the legislator, and that's the person that you can talk to, and they'll take a note of what you're calling about, that you want House Bill 2209 passed, and that your family has caregiving and you have expenses, and this tax credit in this bill of up to $1,000 a year when you help, modify the home or provide transportation or medical expenses that are not covered by insurance. These things would, qualify you for that credit on your taxes and help with some of the expenses. So that's very important. There's lots of people calling the legislature on lots of different things, and, you're sort of competing for legislators' attention. So the more people that call, the more likely we are to be able to move this bill forward and have it become reality.
And what's really interesting about this bill is that we've introduced it as a tax credit. And so as a tax credit, you would receive a dollar for dollar credit on your income tax for the state to account for those expenses that you are paying to care for your loved one. And so a tax credit is, I think, a financial benefit to those loved ones who have made the choice to care for their loved ones at home. And we definitely need people to show their support for this bill, because as you said, not only are there competing interests for our time and attention, but there are competing interests for limited resources. And so this bill, being that it is a tax credit, has a financial impact, and we need to know that there's actually a savings associated to providing a tax credit. Because if you are able to care for a loved one at home through your own individual network of your family, then this could potentially save the state dollars in the long run related to state services that may have to be provided. And so this is really important to have people engaged and active in the legislative process.
One legislator I talked to down there, I won't name who it is, keeps a piece of paper on their desk, and every time they get contacted by a constituent or even a person that isn't a constituent, they make a little check mark under that bill. And then when the bill comes up in committee or whatever, they count how many contacts they had on the bill, and that's the way they judge how important it is to the people that are out there. Usually the people that call are people that vote. But whether you voted or not, it's important. These people represent you, and, they're the ones that can make this thing a reality. It's Bill 2209.
House Bill 2209,
right, yeah.
And it was just introduced. So probably within the next week to 2 weeks, perhaps 3 weeks, we will watch for this bill to be assigned to a committee and then assigned to a hearing in that committee. When that happens, we can post it on our social media, and we would love to have people come down to the Capitol and advocate for this bill, because there is no more powerful voice at the Capitol than the citizens of Arizona coming down, signing in, and testifying on a piece of legislation. And if you're afraid to talk in front of the legislators at the podium, it is as simple as coming to the Capitol and registering your name on a computer and signing in support of the bill. That becomes a permanent record attached to the bill, so as the bill continues to move through the process, we can see online who has signed in support of the bill. The longer that list is, the better the chance the bill has to pass.
And, the legislators also are aware of how many people are sitting in that committee hearing and what they look like.
Exactly.
And so some hearings have very few people in there, and others, can't get a seat and there's people standing around the edge. But that's important to do. If you want to take a day at the Capitol, it's always an interesting experience. And,
one thing that Representative Carter talked about was going to that website, but you can also vote and enter into that website. There's a place at the azleg.gov site where when a bill is being heard, you can vote for it or against it.
Request to speak.
Exactly.
You can
Request
speak
to speak
online.
Too many people complain and don't do anything. This is an opportunity for us to be engaged, to work together to make our community safer and better for our older adults.
Yeah, and that's what that's called, request to speak. That is where you can leave a short note. You don't have to. You can check a box that says you don't want to speak. You want to leave a note. And oftentimes in the committee hearing, they'll read those notes out loud that people have left.
Well, I love it. And I don't think I've ever gone a segment with John Scott not saying a word. So, John Scott, the fourth segment is coming up.
Well, being a conservative, I do not see that this is a use of the Treasury. This protects the Treasury.
I agree.
And by keeping people in the caregiving mode.
We're up against a break, so I want to finish that when we get back. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dean.
And I'm Rick the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today.
And the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing.
And call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents a story about pickles.
It's 2 a.m. and your pregnant wife needs pickles. So you pick up some green happiness, but hit a parked car. Great, something else to worry about. Luckily, Liberty Mutual Insurance has 24/7 claims assistance, so you can take care of your claim right away. Problem solved. Now, if only you bought the right pickles.
Visit a local office or call 844-8-LIBERTY. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company.
Looking for ways to save with your Medicare plan? Walgreens is a preferred network pharmacy with many of the nation's plans, which could mean lower copays for you. So bring your prescriptions to a Walgreens pharmacy today to start saving. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Walgreens participates as a preferred network pharmacy with Cigna, HealthSpring, and Humana. Plans based on 2016 Medicare enrollment data. Walgreens participates with other plans. See walgreens.com/Medicare for details.
Arizona is rolling out the voluntary travel ID, which complies with the Federal Real ID Act. You'll need it for air travel and to access federal and military facilities. There's no rush to get one. Your current driver license or ID is good until October 1st, 2020. The cost is $25 and it's valid for 8 years. To learn how to get your voluntary travel ID and the documents you'll need, visit azdot.gov/travel ID. Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
A Beautyrest Platinum mattress brings you innovative design and superior style. With Beautyrest Platinum, experience elegantly orchestrated sleep. Enjoy precision and control with the Beautyrest Platinum sleep system.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're in our fourth segment. I've got a full house here, and we're talking about the family caregiver. And we're talking about those unsung heroes and how we can make it more economically feasible for them because they do make the ultimate sacrifice. If you're just tuning in, you missed our first 3 segments, go up to CypressHomeCare.com. I put every one of our shows up there. Push on the radio button. You'll hear about 150 that we've been bringing over to you for over 3 years now. So if you're just tuning in, I've got Steve Jennings here in the studio. He is the State Associate Director. I've got John Scott Williams, who's the Executive Director for Fellowship Square out in Mesa. And I've got Representative Heather Carter from the Arizona Legislature. She is the Chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. And we're talking about this great bill called House Bill 2209 that gives tax credits. And Representative Carter, I want you to explain to our listening audience, what does that actually mean? What's that look like for our families, tax credits?
So a tax credit is actually a dollar-for-dollar tax credit that you would receive on your end-of-year income tax that you would be required to pay to the state of Arizona. And it's different than a tax deduction, which is just a portion of the money that you would actually spend taking care of a loved one. This is a dollar-for-dollar credit. So if you spend upwards of $1,000 taking care of a loved one, you would be able to actually regain some of that money dollar for dollar in your income tax, which would mean you would pay less money to the state of Arizona in your income tax because you are providing those services at home. That's a really important concept here because many times the loved one is taking on the responsibility of caring for their elderly adult in their own home. And if we didn't have that loved one there willing to take on the time and the effort and the financial responsibility of taking care of that loved one, that quite possibly the state would have to take care of that loved one's needs. And this is a way for the state of Arizona to not only recognize, but give financial incentives for individuals to take care of their loved ones at home. It fundamentally supports that family structure in taking care of people's needs at the time when they need it the most. And that is at the end of the life when they might have additional medical or physical needs.
You know, and it's something that we in the state of Arizona are familiar with tax credits, right? We have the tuition tax credits and those donations that we make, either individually $400 or couples $800. So, you know, as Arizonans, we know what that means. And this really helps preserve the ability for family members to be caring for a loved one.
When I explain those credits to other individuals, I say the reason why the state is so willing to provide a credit for necessary services is it costs the state far less in Treasury to provide the credit than to provide the services. One of the Tom Freestone indicates it used to cost $63 million a year to handle developmentally disabled in Maricopa County. They went to privatizing for not-for-profit organizations to do that. It went to $9 million. Everybody liked the outcome, but when the state does it, nobody likes the outcome, no one likes the service. So whenever you get the credit, then you're able to provide the services, and that's why the credit is so important versus a deduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bob, and if you think that, you know, if your family has to hire an outfit to come in, now what we're talking here in home care is we're talking non-medical home care. People get that kind of thing confused, and they think their health insurance might cover this or Medicare might cover this, but those are programs that pay medical expenses. But if you had to hire non-medical home care to help people with the activities of eating, bathing, dressing, transferring, all those things, the activities of daily living, you'd have to pay somewhere around $22, $24 an hour to get a reputable agency, and few families can afford that, so families take up the burden on their own and become caregivers. And how can that, the intent of this bill is to help those caregivers be relieved of some of what they're going to spend out of pocket. They're likely going to spend around $7,000 each and every year, as long as that lasts, meeting necessary expenses. So here we're hoping to give at least $1,000 in tax credits if they spend that much to help relieve some of that burden.
You know, it's interesting. You've provided me some great statistics in the past, Steve, and I've got some statistics here. You know, family caregivers provide in monetary terms $470 billion a year in unpaid care. $470 billion. They make that ultimate sacrifice. I gave the statistics before. I want to share with our listening audience, Arizona is unique in the sense that we have an aging demographic, and AARP gave me a statistic, and that was a caregiver support ratio. And what that is, that every caregiver, and I'm talking based on census, I'm talking about family caregivers, paid caregivers, you name it, ages 45 to 64, caring for someone 80 plus. Presently today, we have approximately 7 available caregivers for everyone 80 and over. By 2030 in Arizona, we're going to have 2.6. So we're going to go from 7 down to 2.6. Nationally, it's 4.1. And then fast forward, that's, by the way, 13 years from now. Fast forward to 2050, we're looking at 1.8. So we have a caregiver shortage, and we have a problem. And the only way to address this problem is policy, like what Representative Carter's introducing, and AARP, or we have to look to innovations. And I say we look to both. I mean, we have to rely on American ingenuity to really help solve this problem. We've never been faced with anything like this before. I've said it here on the show. 2/3 of the world's population, you ready for this? Put your arms around this. 2/3 of the world's population that has ever lived to the age of 65. I'm talking about Mother Earth. They're walking on this earth today.
Wow.
So, this is pandemic. We've got to figure it out. Policy is so important. We've got to engage the village, the community, and come together, and we need your support. Our listening audience needs our support, your support for House Bill 2209. So, Representative Carter, if you could help our listening audience, how do we do this? If you're not registered down there, I'd love for you to give an email address, a phone number. We want this thing to get through. We want it to pass. It's the first step, and there are many other steps that we can take after this.
Absolutely, and that is really the call to action today, is to make sure that we have people engaged in the public process. So you can do that in a number of ways. As we've said, coming down to the Capitol is always available to you, but I know that sometimes that's difficult to do. So what I would like to do is offer my personal email, and that is hcarter, HCARTER, @azleg.gov, G-O-V. If you need help signing into the system, the Request to Speak system, send me an email, and we will help get that done for you. Then at home, you can simply log on to the Request to Speak system, which is online. I will send you the link. I will send you the directions, and you can have your voice heard at the Capitol from the comfort of your own home.
Perfect.
But otherwise, I'd love to see your bright, shining faces down at the Capitol. And once we have the bill assigned to a committee agenda, if you have sent me an email, I can simply email you when the bill will be heard.
Well, it's hard to believe we're already done. Any just final seconds, comments?
Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with everyone to get this done for Arizona.
It's a good beginning.
And the power of personal stories. Come and tell your story.
Tell your story.
Tell your story.
That's all you need to do.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right after Business for Breakfast, right after the news on Money Radio, tune in Mastering Money with wealth manager Steve Jurich and the Dr. Sinclair No. Learn about cutting-edge retirement investment strategies, Social Security optimizing, and RMD strategies. Guests on Mastering Money have included Steve Forbes, Larry Kudlow, and the one and only John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. Join the A-Team, Stephen Sinclair, mornings Monday through Friday at 8. And now, download the Mastering Money app for your Apple, Android, and Windows devices.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix. If you're on the go, Money Radio can go with you on your smart device. Download the free Money Radio app and listen from anywhere. Right now, the Dow's down 8 points at 19,882. The S&P's up 4 at 2274, and the NASDAQ is up 26.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin